Okay, boomers, Robert Kiyosaki says it's time to go digital. And hey, if you're out there saying, I'm not a boomer, I'm Gen X, Gen Y, well, I bet he sees you too. So by now, maybe you've heard Robert Kiyosaki is selling his silver for Bitcoin. It's the title of his video. He says he's selling his gold too, moving everything into Bitcoin. Now, why do we care what Robert Kiyosaki has to say on gold? Well, he's been a big proponent, and he spiced this up a little bit, saying boomers don't get it because they're effing stupid. Now, just between us, he probably needed to spice that up a little bit just to get your attention. I think I need to mention that I've never once mentioned Robert Kiyosaki's gold and silver cheerleading as further reason to buy. He's not really my oracle for information these days. I've never found his position on metals enlightening enough to share. Is that unnecessarily rude to say? I don't know, but he started it. He's a notable character in the alt financial space, no doubt, so he's giving an emergency update here. We can at least cover the topic, whether he's right, whether he's wrong, whether it's somewhere in between. Before we get too far here, for everyone other than Robert Kiyosaki, you might be looking to buy gold and silver, not sell it all for Bitcoin. If that's you, I'm just going to tell you about Summit Metals, channel sponsor here. They want your business. You can tell by their prices, their fast shipping, and their customer service. You can buy gold and silver really in a lot of places, but Summit Metals is out to prove they're one of the best. I'd only ask that you give them a shot. Now, if you don't know who Robert Kiyosaki is, well, he's an author and a businessman and around-the-clock promoter. He's the creator of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the franchise. Now, if you pay attention to the gold and silver topic around here, he's probably crept into your feed. Maybe you've seen him holding a gold or silver coin saying, this is real wealth. Everything else is dead. Now, I've always found that to be a little bit cringe, as the youngsters used to say, but he doesn't seem to have those reservations. You've maybe seen him explain why he keeps all of his wealth in gold. Maybe you've heard him say, this will make you rich. Now, rich has additional meaning to the guy since he's promoting a program. He's playing a game, and most people probably know that. Now, the weird part to me was always how hard he went when he crept in. Like, if you didn't do this, you were screwed. Now, he's a smart guy. He knows fear and threats get more attention, and paying attention to Robert Kiyosaki gets you into the Rich Dad funnel, his marketing machine. Now, a lot of us have sponsors or sponsored messages, but with Robert Kiyosaki, that's his whole business. He has incentives to bring you in. So Kiyosaki's a sharp guy. He knows marketing, he knows revenue streams, and we can assume his team is well aware of the Bitcoin attention trend. Bitcoin hype is at a fever pitch right now, and Kiyosaki, well, he's on the prowl. At least that's my assumption here. So I want to get out a few thoughts. A few thoughts that aren't part of any kind of promotion, that aren't going for attention by courting younger people or calling boomers stupid. The case for Bitcoin the past few months has been really strong. We can see it in the price here, and we can see it in the news. We have our first crypto president. If we go by the headlines, and if you watch my last video, you know that Trump just signed an executive order that could lead to a national digital asset stockpile. So let's just put that bit of news at the top because I don't want to go through it all and go off of what we're seeing here with the price of Bitcoin. There's no mystery. The price is on the run, so it's getting more attention. Now, the reality here, at least for me, is that gold and Bitcoin have just never been a case of one or the other. If anything, they balance each other out. If I were to sell all of my gold in exchange for Bitcoin, I would go from feeling that I have a safety net to feeling that I have to be anxious all the time. Watching the charts with my finger on the sell button, they're totally different asset classes. Now, most of us here probably have that same feeling. For Kiyosaki to come out and call an entire generation stupid for sticking with this stuff or not getting it, as he puts it, that's a little bit sketchy because understanding gold and understanding Bitcoin is pretty different. Buying, selling, holding digital assets means that you have to understand the assets, you have to understand the exchange, the storage options, and the charts. You have to understand the price can swing in the middle of the night, and if you have to get your Bitcoin from a cold storage wallet into an exchange, get it transferred to your local currency, and then off of the exchange, well, I can tell you from personal experience, it's not quite as simple as I just made it sound. You need to know what you're doing. So let me get into more observations. The first is that Kiyosaki tells you about an obscure Bitcoin service, like that's going to solve the problem of you not getting it. Now, that part stood out to me. I assume it's an ad or one of his own platforms. And if I was being catty, maybe I would have led with that. But none of us have any way of knowing if it's an ad or not because he doesn't say. Now, I pulled up a Bitcoin chart earlier. So if we were to look at a gold chart, see what it's doing right now, well, hey, gold immediately jumped to a new all-time high after he said to jump ship. Gold passed the prior 2790 all-time high, is trading at $2,820 as I'm recording this. This chart is on a little bit of a delay. So the idea that Bitcoin is all of a sudden the only way to preserve your wealth is a little bit of a tough sell. Now, the bottom line here is that there's always going to be Bitcoin hype when its price is on a run. There are always going to be people telling you to rush into this or that. That doesn't make the asset itself good or bad. All I would say here is that a Bitcoin hype chorus doesn't change the nature of risk. And that's coming from somebody who does hold some Bitcoin. I actually have sold silver a few times and I put that into Bitcoin. I mentioned it when I did in 2020. I mentioned it again prior to this most recent election. So Kiyosaki's video title didn't throw me. It just read that he'd sold his silver and bought some Bitcoin, and hey, so had I. But if you've seen him on prior videos telling you why he held all of his wealth in gold, that's a big statement. And now he was selling his gold and silver for Bitcoin, which is what he got into in the actual video. The whole thing turns into something else entirely because I can't imagine holding all my wealth in Bitcoin personally. And I think it's a fair assumption to think that Robert Kiyosaki has more than I do. So it's a scary thought, but I'm not here to criticize what he does or what he says he does. In a year from now, who knows? We could look back, we could see that the asset did really well. I would just hope that anyone following his advice knows what they're jumping into. So let's call it good there. Are you selling all your gold and silver for Bitcoin? Let us know in the comments. And maybe you're just selling your silver for Bitcoin. Sorry, had to do it. If you're a grown-up though, regardless of what generational label you fall into, my guess is you're making informed decisions. You're not falling into the trap of making a huge move just because somebody calls you stupid. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong there. And while you're there, be sure to hit the like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to hear more of the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.